Hi guys, welcome. I'm finally getting my A into G and sharing with you guys about the deposit. So this week was week one around buying a home. So at the beginning of the week we shared around the why. So just to recap what that is, why do you want to buy a home? For some people it is to buy your forever home. You want to build, you want to find the perfect home, and that can be quite challenging in itself, finding a home that's already built to meet your needs. For some people it might be to flip homes, and for some people it's finding a tenanted home that you want to rent out because maybe you are comfortable in the current situation you're in. You might be living with parents and you might not require a new home to live in. You might be living there for free. It's the perfect time to think about buying a rental if you are in that position. So we talked about the why and understanding the why. The reason why understanding the why is so important, and I stressed this last week, the reason why that's so important is because understanding the why kind of gives you the motivation to work on the deposit. Most people don't understand that. Most people think the deposit is what's important, but what you find is that if you don't understand what you're looking for on the market, or you don't know why you want to buy a home, then you can easily fall into the trap of buying a home that you don't love or you quickly don't want to be associated with. So understanding why you want to purchase a home really helps you get kind of like the first true understanding of what it is that you're trying to achieve. So we talked about that, and heaps of people did share why they want to purchase homes. A lot of people, it was to find your forever home. So background, Sam and I purchased the home that we currently live in. We bought it, I think it was 4 years ago now, and it was our family home. So this home has been in our family for probably 15 years, maybe even more, and I have quite a sentimental attachment to this home. So when my parents told me that they were selling it, I immediately jumped in and thought, I'll try to buy it. At the time I just had my second child, and so it was quite a difficult process, being able to juggle the fact that we were looking to buy a home. I was on maternity leave, my husband had just started a new job at the time, and buying the home went past so quickly, and our mortgage broker did such a great job that I kind of didn't really understand what had happened or how it had happened. I missed the opportunity to work through a mortgage structure and do it efficiently for me. I missed the point, I guess I missed the understanding around what my deposit was and what it looked like and how I'd set it up, how I got it. I literally just filled in a whole bunch of forms and ta-da, money. And for a lot of people that's how it goes, and it is quite a misconception that people who buy homes have got their shit together. That's not always the case. Clearly, and it's taken me a good 2 years to really understand that I can restructure my mortgage and that I can follow the interest rates and approach my bank to see if there's any way I can restructure my mortgage to the better interest rates that are being offered on the market. So quickly you learn this stuff as you, I guess, progress through home ownership. Tonight we'll be talking about the deposit. So once you understand your why, it helps you kind of fuel your goal to save for a deposit. So what I wanted to talk about was a few things. So first of all, how do you work out a deposit? In New Zealand, it's pretty stock standard around a deposit. Most banks, the average deposit amount that they require is 20%. So if you were looking to buy a home for $600,000, which for some areas that is the average market price, you'd be looking at a $120,000 loan. Don't freak out, it's not all made up of your own cash. I just want to reassure you to start with that this deposit isn't as scary as you think. And a lot of the times what gives us so much fear is not understanding how to get there, or not understanding who to go to talk to about these things. So just quickly, if you are serious about home buying, my biggest recommendation is that you go and see a mortgage broker, a financial advisor, or your local bank. Alright, so the best way for me to explain to you, I guess, how to save for a deposit and what a deposit could be made up of, was to draw it out on a whiteboard for you. So I hope this makes sense, and if it doesn't, feel free to ask as many questions as you need. So in terms of a deposit, basically in New Zealand, there's a pretty simple structure to being able to work out what your deposit should look like. Most banks will require you to have a 20% deposit of the purchase price of the house that you're looking to buy. So I've tried to make this as real as possible, bearing in mind that the New Zealand house market all over New Zealand is quite varied. So a 20% deposit based off a $600,000 mortgage would be $120,000. Don't freak out by that amount. It can be made up of numerous things that doesn't just require your cash flow. So those things include the Welcome Home Loan, a KiwiSaver cash, which is from you, and a first home grant. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those things, but what I do want to let you know, which most people don't realise when buying a home, is that this whole amount does not include the other things required of you when buying a home, such as LIM reports for the house that you're looking to buy, just to make sure that you get your own builder through the house and that you're happy with the structure, the integrity, and the current state of the property, as well as solicitor fees, because you do need a lawyer to make sure that this gets across the line. And meth test, because, yeah, well, we'll leave that one at that. I basically mapped out the 4 things here down here and basically talked about what is required of you or what you might need to do to be meeting the requirements of some of these options for getting additional cash flow on your mortgage. So in terms of this deposit, it can be made up of 4 things. Your KiwiSaver and your cash are 2 really common knowledge options for most first home buyers. There are 2 other that not everybody is aware of though. One is the Welcome Home Loan. This is supported by Housing New Zealand and of course New Zealand Government, and it is a great option for people that maybe can't quite get to the 20% deposit, need another option, and maybe do sit at a certain income cap. So to start that one off, the income cap, if you are one person looking to apply for the Welcome Home Loan, is that you have to be earning under $85,000 before tax, and that's only if you're one person. If you're a couple looking to apply for this, you do need to be under $130,000 before tax. The requirements around this is that you must have a 10% deposit, and the lenders will look at that case by case. In terms of you having a 10% deposit, that does mean there is quite a catch. You do get charged what is called LMI, a lender's mortgage insurance. That is 1% of the total amount of the loan on the account. So in this case, if we're purchasing a $600,000 house, you'll be looking at potentially a $6,000 extra lender's mortgage insurance. That gets added to the debt. It doesn't actually you don't actually get charged at the time of the purchase, unlike these other things. So with that out of the way, you also have to be a first home buyer. And I guess the reason around that is because first home buyers really struggle to get on the market. Speaking from experience, I know that if we hadn't purchased the house that we're in now, there would be no way we'd be able to afford a house. And then it has to be, so in terms of the Welcome Home Loan, the house that you're purchasing does have to be under the regional house price cap. Basically in New Zealand, there is a regional price house cap that the government has made a structure on, and in your area there is like a price cap. So in some areas it is $600,000. So basically, if you were applying for this, the home that you had to buy, if the cap in your area was $600,000, you'd have to buy a home for less than that. But I know that in some areas it really is possible, but you have to check on the website for what the regional house price cap is in your area. But to me, if it's something you can apply for it. The other one that isn't always commonly talked about is the first home grant, which ties into your KiwiSaver. I said that really weird. KiwiSaver. It ties into your KiwiSaver. So we'll talk about them both at the same time since they do link into each other. But the KiwiSaver, you can basically withdraw everything up to the last $1,000 in the account. You have to leave $1,000 in there. In terms of being able to withdraw, you have to be actively contributing into that. I can't remember whether it's 3 or 5 years, and I could just quickly look it up, but look it up for yourselves. It could be 3 or 5 years, but you do have to be actively contributing to it. this ties into the first home grant. So basically, provided that you've been actively contributing for 3 years, you can apply for the first home grant. Make sure that you understand what your contributions look like. If you do approach a mortgage broker to help you with this, they'll show you what this looks like. So with the first home grant, it ties into your KiwiSaver and is on top of. So this is a grant that basically, when you apply for it, gives you $1,000 for each year of contribution. If you're purchasing an existing home, you have to be contributing to your KiwiSaver for at least 3 years to be eligible for this grant. And so basically you can get a minimum of $3,000 and a maximum of $5,000. Just be careful with understanding this, because they do really scrutinize on your active contributions, so they do count it. So I can't remember whether it was month or week, but I think it might have been month. Look it up for yourselves again. But they do count it. So say, for example, you've put in 10 months of a year is 12 months, then they're going to count 2 months from the next year as 1 year. So they do really scrutinize on that, because what they're wanting to make sure is that you've actively been contributing. So you can get up to $5,000 to purchase an existing home. If you are building a new home, you can get double that, so it's $10,000. So that is on top of your KiwiSaver. So say you might have, I don't know, for argument's sake, 25,000 in your KiwiSaver, and you're able to get the total of 5K from your first home grant. You get a total of 30K just from those two together. Make sense? All right. So another thing to mention with your KiwiSaver is that there are different funds that you can be part of. So in terms of being an investor, KiwiSaver isn't a safe investment, as people would say. It's not a flawless, I will never lose money. I've talked about this before and it is in my highlights reel, but in terms of KiwiSaver, it's an investment. So you put your money into a big pool, so whatever fund it looks like, or whatever the name of your fund is. For some of you, if your fund is moderate, you're basically just in the fund that your work's picked for you. So if you are an investor or somebody looking at investments, KiwiSaver is a really good place to start with. You can look online to find what the different investment options in terms of your KiwiSaver is, and work out what type of investor you are. So my husband's quite an aggressive investor. He will literally put all his money in one pot, and if he loses it, he loses it. I'm quite a conservative investor. I want to make sure I'm getting a fair return. Might put in a little bit, take a little bit of a risk, but I want to make sure I get a pretty average return on it. Again, big risk, big reward. Also big risk, big loss. So totally up to you, and you need to find out what works for you. But if you're wanting to get more of a return on your KiwiSaver in terms of interest, then looking into what your KiwiSaver fund is the best way to do that. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is cash. So this is probably the hardest one for people to get their heads around, basically because saving is hard. And if anybody ever told you it was easy, they're lying. So the first thing that I've put on here is obviously budget. Yes. Without budgeting, you don't know what's happening with your money, where it's going, what it's doing, and obviously I talk about budgeting all the time, and I basically say, have you done your budget? So if you haven't done a budget, do a budget, and in that budget, work out how much cash you can put aside to save for your deposit. I'm going to talk next week about debt and deposits, and borrowing getting a home loan, because I guess there's two ways that you can look at this. One is getting your deposit and saving for your deposit can help you debt consolidate. But two, if you have a lot of debt and you are putting this as a priority over your debt, it can affect your credit rating, and you don't want to do that, because when it comes to getting a deposit, your credit rating matters like 100%. So you want to make sure that you've got quite an even balance of the two, without either or affecting your lifestyle, or your credit rating, or basically an effective way to manage your money. So, budget. Secondly is, if you are going to be saving cash, don't save in cash, like cold hard cash. Don't hide it under your mattress. Don't put it under a couch anywhere. Although for some people that is quite an effective way to save, by doing that, your money's not making money. And a lot of people do it for self-control, and I can understand that. But a better way to have self-control is to find an account that probably earns quite a bit of interest. Let's say, for argument's sake, BNZ's offering an account. You open an account with them and you put your money in, and you'll make 10% off any money that gets put in there. There will be terms and conditions around that and catches. But work through what that looks like with your bank and what the interest rate is and what the catches are, and put your money into an account that's going to make money. When you put your deposit into, or savings into, an account that is going to make money, you're going to make a return. And what better way to build that deposit quicker than making money off somebody else? When you put money in a bank, the reason why they give you interest is because basically everybody's money goes into the bank, and then that money stays in the bank, but people borrow that money. So they're basically paying you to put your money in the bank so that they can lend it to others. It's always going to be available to you, unless that bank crashes, but it is always going to be available to you. But they pay you interest for putting your money with them. So if you're going to save for a deposit, find a good account with a high interest rate, check what the terms and conditions of the account might be, and put it in there so it makes money while you do nothing. So that is basically the deposit. I guess it's not as scary as people think that it is. There's so many options and so many schemes that you can get money out of, and the purpose of it is to help people get into their first homes. I would talk more in the coming weeks about serviceability and your credit rating, and making sure that it's not just the deposit that gets you across the line with borrowing a mortgage for a home. The bank is also going to make sure that you're able to service your debt. They're also going to make sure that your credit rating's good so that they can lend to you. And I guess at the end of the day, they're wanting to make sure that you're purchasing for the right reasons as well. So we all know what the house market's currently like in New Zealand. It's freaking ferocious. So I guess having a deposit and understanding what your deposit looks like really helps you get your home loan pre-approval. So a home loan pre-approval basically allows you to know what you're working with. Then you can go out into the market and work out what homes you can afford, what you can't, and if you did want something else, what do you need to do to get there. I think the biggest part of understanding home buying for me was getting to understand this stuff and what my options are, because a lot of the time we don't know what our options are, and we rely on a mortgage broker or financial advisor or somebody to tell us what we're doing. And in reality, for a lot of people, it seems so far out of reach that we don't even bother looking at it. But I just want to reassure you guys out there that it's not as scary as what you think, and it is totally possible. I mean, if you look at your KiwiSaver and you've got above $25,000 and you're looking at buying a cheaper home, let's go $400,000. Alright, so anyway, what I was going to say was, it is quite realistic when you look at the figures this way. So if you had over $25,000 in your KiwiSaver, and you're able to apply for the first home grant and get $5,000, and you've got your 30, and that's you alone, that doesn't include your partner yet, and you're looking to buy a $400,000 home, you're looking at a mortgage of, a deposit of $80,000. So you've already got 30. You're pretty much like over a quarter of the way there. If you've been saving some cash and maybe you've got 20, that's $50,000. And if your partner's on the same path as you, that's $80,000. And it's not impossible. But what is impossible is not understanding what your options are. Then that makes this a little bit impossible. So, that's it around the deposit. I really hope that you stayed to watch the whole thing. I'm a bit boring when I do talk just like this. But I think I enjoy talking like this and being a little bit serious sometimes, because this stuff is quite serious, and understanding it and understanding how to get into this is the best place to start. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know. If you didn't, let me know as well. I'm always looking to make sure that my content really hits the mark and that you guys are learning something about it, or if I've said something wrong, let me know. I'll just block you or unfriend you anyway. No, I'm kidding, I wouldn't do that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that somebody took something out of this. Have a good one.